ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. So today we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 12, the killing of the demon Aghasura, text 39. Please repeat after me. Sakrit Yat Anga Pratima Antah Ahita Manah Mai Bhagavatim Dadau Gatim Sah Eva Nitya Atma Sukha Anubhuti Abhivyudhasta Mayah Antah Gatah Hi Kim Punaham. Sakridyadanga Pratimantarahita Manomai Bhagavating Dadau Ghatim Sa Eva Nityatma Sukhanubhutyabhi Vyudhastamayonthargato hi king punah. Sakridyadanga Pratimantarahita Manomai Bhagavating Dadau Ghatim Sa Eva Nityatma Sukhanubhutyabhi Vyudhastamayonthargato hi king punah. Sakridyadanga Pratimantarahita Manomai Bhagavating Dadau Ghatim Sa Eva Nityatma Sukhanubhutyabhi Vyudhastamayonthargato hi king punah. Sakridyadanga Pratimantarahita Manomai Bhagavating Dadau Ghatim Sa Eva Nityatma Sukhanubhutyabhi Vyudhastamayonthargato hi king punah. Sakridyadanga Pratimantarahita Manomai Bhagavating Dadau Gatim Sa Eva Nityatma Sukhanubhutyabhi Vyudhastamayonthargato hi king punah. Sakridyadanga Pratimantarahita Manomai Bhagavating Dadau Ghatim Sa Eva Nityatma Sukhanubhutyabhi Vyudhastamayonthargato hi king punah. Mataji. Saeva nityatma sukhanubhutyabhi vyudhastamayonthargato hi king punaha. Sakrit, once only, yat, whose, anga pratima, the form of the Supreme Lord. There are many forms, but Krishna is the original form. Antaha, ahita, placing within the core of the heart, somehow or other. Manaha, mayi, thinking of him even by force. Bhagavatim, which is competent to offer devotional service to the Lord. Dadau, Krishna gave. Gatim, the best destination. Saha, he, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Eva, indeed. Nitya, always. Atma, of all living entities. Sukha Anubhuti, anyone thinking of him immediately enjoys transcendental pleasure. Abhivyudhastamayah, because all illusion is completely removed by him. Antagataha, he is always present within the core of the heart. He, indeed, kim punaha, what to speak? Translation unpurported by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON. Translation: if even only once or even by force one brings the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead into one's mind, one can attain the supreme salvation by the mercy of Krishna, as did Aghasura. What then is to be said of those whose hearts the Supreme Personality of Godhead enters when he appears as an incarnation, or those who always think of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the source of transcendental bliss for all living entities, and by whom all illusion is completely removed. Purport. The process for receiving the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is described here. Yat pada pankaja palasa vilasa bhaktya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 22, Text 39. Simply by thinking of Krishna, one can attain him very easily. Krishna is also described as having his lotus feet always within the hearts of his devotees. Bhagavan Bhakta Hridistitaha. In the case of Aghasura, one may argue that he was not a devotee. The answer to this is that he thought of Krishna for a moment with devotion. Bhaktyaham ekaya grahya. Without devotion, one cannot think of Krishna. And conversely, whenever one thinks of Krishna, one undoubtedly has devotion. Although Aghasura's purpose was to kill Krishna, for a moment Aghasura thought of Krishna with devotion. And Krishna and his associates wanted to sport within Aghasura's mouth. Similarly, Putana wanted to kill Krishna by poisoning him, but Krishna took her as his mother because he had accepted the milk of her breast. Swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 40. Especially when Krishna appears as an avatara, anyone who thinks of Krishna in his different incarnations, Ramadi Murtishu Kala Niyamena Tishtan, and especially in his original form as Krishna, attains salvation. There are many instances of this, and among them is Aghasura, who attained the salvation of Sarupya Mukti. Therefore, the process is Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Yatantascha Dridavvrataha. Those who are devotees always engage in glorifying Krishna. Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam. When we speak of Krishna, we refer to all his avatars, such as Krishna, Govinda, Narayana, Vishnu, Lord Chaitanya, Krishna Balarama, and Shyama Sundara. One who always thinks of Krishna must attain vimukti, special salvation as the Lord's personal associate, not necessarily in Vrindavana, but at least in Vaikunta. This is called Sarupya Mukti. Namo Vishnu Padaya. Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swaminiti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Sakridya Danga Pratimantarahita Manomai Bhagavatim Dadaugatim Saeva Nityatma Sukhanubhutya Bhi Vyudhastamayontar Gatohi King Punaha. If even only once or even by force one brings the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead into one's mind, one can attain the supreme salvation by the mercy of Krishna. As did Aghasura. What then is to be said of those whose hearts the Supreme Personality of Godhead enters when he appears as an incarnation, or those who always think of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the source of transcendental bliss for all living entities and by whom all illusion is completely removed. Yet another amazing verse where Srila Shukadeva Goswami is again pointing out the superiority of bhakti and the great quality of Krishna, who is very compassionate, and also his qualities of removing the illusion from his devotees, and also by giving special mercy to even to non-devotee or to an asura. The Lord can give a special mercy that shows his completeness. That is what we are seeing in this entire 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, in these various pastimes of killing various asuras. Not only he shows mercy to his devotees, even to an asura he gives his mercy. That we are seeing in this verse. Here in this verse, Vyudhasta Mayontar Gatohi King Punaha. So what can be said? It is the Lord who is seated inside the heart as Antaryami, specifically in his various incarnations, when he specifically comes as Krishna. For to those who are absorbed in him, he gives himself. And then the real speciality in this today's verse is that Sakridya Danga Pratimantarahita. Sakrid, that even once, he says only once, if someone thinks of Krishna's form, he thinks of it, then Manomai Bhagavatim Dadogatim. So here Shukadeva Goswami is pointing out that he is ready to offer devotional service to them. So he is ready to offer great bliss to them. So this is something amazing in this verse. And also this verse also hints how to receive the favor of the Lord. So that's again another point for us to think about, because Srila Prabhupada in the purport immediately picks on this point. He says, the process for receiving the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is described here. Yat pada pankaja palasa vilasa bhaktya. So engaging in serving the lotus feet of the Lord, specifically the toes of his lotus feet is being mentioned here. Pada pankaja palasa vilasa, which is very soft. So Prabhupada says, simply by thinking of Krishna, one can attain him very easily. So if you see in this verse, it is mentioned that Manomai, in the heart, there are various forms of the Lord. The Lord comes as Archa Vigraha, and then there is different description. He can be in a picture, he can be painted. 8 descriptions are given how the Lord can appear in various ways. Simply by even meditating on the form of the Lord, even once, it is mentioned here, today's verse. So one can very easily attain Krishna, Srila Prabhupada is pointing out. And further he says, Krishna is also described as having his lotus feet always within the hearts of his devotees. This again, yet another quality of the Lord, how he is very much attracted by his devotees. He's always thinking of his devotees. And he says that, Prabhupada quotes, Bhagavan Bhakta Hridhi Sthitaha. So where do we find Bhagavan? In the heart of the devotees. And then if you ask the devotee is in the heart of the Lord. So there is a transcendental competition between the Lord and his devotees. Now, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, in his commentary, he's pointing out, he's taking a scenario and he's explaining. We'll just discuss that. He says that this particular verse speaks about how Agasura got Sarupya Mukti, how he got that special Mukti. So here the point is mentioned because he, for a moment, he thought about Krishna. That is what is being mentioned here by Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, and Srila Prabhupada is also pointing out. Yet another point here Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is pointing out is that he awarded supreme destination, Bhagavati Gati, to King Katvanga and others, who has directly an eternal body. So you can see also Katvanga, it is mentioned, no, he just momentarily thought about the Lord and went back home back to Godhead. So he also did that. Here also it is mentioned that Agasura momentarily thought about Krishna. So what is here that's being discussed by Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur? He says, however, in the case of King Katvanga and others, the cause of their attaining the Lord was devotion. It's very clear. If you see Katvanga, he fought in the war, he won the war for the demigods, and the moment he came to know that there is only 1 second left, he immediately meditated on the form of the Lord. He knew that he has to surrender to Krishna. So he knew that and he did that. So that is what here Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is pointing out. And here is again giving a strong pramana for that, because Bhagavatam very clearly establishes that the importance of bhakti. So he says that bhaktyaham ekaya grahya. So nothing else, only by devotion Krishna can be attained. Krishna says only by devotion I can be attained. So this is what the scripture says. Then he clarifies that in Agasura's case, however, the absence of devotion did not act as a deterrent in attaining the Lord. So how is that? Though devotion is indeed the general rule. So without devotion, no way Krishna can be pleased. But here, although he did not have the devotion, but then he got the mercy. How is that? So he further explains it by pointing out that, again, in the 29th chapter of the Bhagavatam, there is a verse like we have in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam. Narada Muni is explaining to Yudhishthira Maharaj how by Kama, by Krodha, by Lobha, one can be attracted. Even if one has such kind of an attitude, the Lord considers that. Similarly, he is quoting a verse. He points out that when Krishna appears as an avatara, anyone can attain his transcendental abode simply by contact, because of the extra surge of his perfect Kripa Shakti at that time. That is why it is said, one who approaches me in a mood of either lust, anger, fear, affection, oneness, friendship or devotion will surely attain love for me that is of that nature. And he specifically points out, like we saw in the previous verses also, yesterday's verse also we saw, it is not something astonishing for Krishna to accomplish this task. Because the acharyas are pointing out that, for him, it is, he's complete, everything is completely under his control. It is just by his desire he can accomplish all these tasks. So that's what Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is also pointing out here. And he specifically points out also here that Srila Prabhupada has also pointed out in the previous verses, one of the two verses before, we saw that how Krishna considered, although Agasura was a demon and wanted to kill Krishna, he used his body as a playground. All the boys, all the gopas after that, once Krishna touches the body, although the body is very obnoxious, we heard the description how because Agasura was eating so many living entities, so obnoxious smell was coming from his mouth. But because of the touch of Krishna, the gopas went inside, Krishna went inside. So naturally, the body, although was obnoxious, became became a place of sporting ground for the Gopas. So all of them were playing, and Krishna took it as in a very favorable way. Oh, his body is allowing us to play. So like that, Krishna is giving some credit. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is pointing out that, and as a result of that, Krishna gave, because of his mercy, Krishna, although he had the demoniac attitude, the one moment he thought of Krishna, although he was in anger and he wanted to kill Krishna, same thing. So Srila Prabhupada is also pointing out in today's purport that same was the case with Putana and other asuras who wanted to kill Krishna, but Krishna took the other side of it. Putana came as a nurse to feed Krishna. So Krishna sees the better side of it. So this is Krishna's real compassionate nature. And we know Sri Rupa Goswami also points out in the Nectar of Devotion, of all the qualities of Krishna, this quality of compassion is very special with the Lord. And in the entire Bhagavatam, we can see Uddhava also glorifies Krishna for that. And many acharyas point out the special quality of Krishna, that how he is very compassionate. All the Putana came with a poison smeared on her breast to kill Krishna. But Krishna took it. Krishna wanted to give her a status of mother. This is extreme kindness. That is Krishna. So that is being glorified here. So Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is pointing out that Aghasura's body became the playground for the boys for many days. It should be understood that the demon's unfavorable attitude had been transformed into a favorable attitude. Aghasura had attained Sarupya Mukti in Vaikuntha. So that is being clarified. But not attain a form in Vrindavana because of his lack of Vraja Bhakti. So that is obvious. Now, in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is pointing out this famous verse from the Bhagavatam, how Krishna is bestowing by those devotees who are taking to his lotus feet. Meaning the point is that who takes to the service of his lotus feet, Krishna is very merciful, and he awards them control over their senses, control over their mind, and being absorbed, being very busy in the service of his lotus feet, they are able to overcome all the distractions, that is, all the pullings of the mind and the senses, which drags into various illusory ideas to enjoy and lord over the material world. In today's verse, we also see the two qualities of Krishna. One is that he gives transcendental bliss to his devotees. Simultaneously, he removes all the illusory enjoyments of this material world. This is very merciful nature. Both are required. Unless you come out of the illusion, you can't really get into the spiritual life, or you can't experience the bliss of Krishna consciousness. We can't keep our leg on both the things. So, but Krishna makes that arrangement. He very mercifully does that. So that is again an amazing point that we see in today's verse. Srila Prabhupada is pointing out that. And yet another amazing feature of the Lord is that for his devotees, he awards a transcendental body. Even for the demons here we see, he gave Sarupya Mukti. And today's verse says that King Punaha, what to speak of those who are really thinking of him, who are really engaged in his service, what will be their destination? So that is something amazing that Krishna can do. That Krishna wants to, he is really hankering the welfare of his devotees. So that's what we see here, that Krishna can award for his devotees. So that gives us a great impetus that Krishna is a real well-wisher, always wants to bestow mercy to his devotees. So that this act should act as an impetus for us to take up to devotional service very seriously. And with this verse of, yet when you get time, please open the purport and then see. Srila Prabhupada's purport is really mind-blowing. He explains so much about the superiority of bhakti over jnana, over karma, over other processes. Because he specifically points out in the purport that how in all the processes one should control his mind and senses. So he gives an analogy. What's the analogy he gives? He gives an analogy of a river. River has, it constantly flows. There are also so much waves in that. So he says that our mind and senses are agitated. It's very difficult to control. But then, beautiful analogy. He says that when that river goes and hits the sea takes over. It's very agitated. The river is very agitated. But then, when it goes to the river sea, the seat takes over. So he gives the example that when someone, the mind is agitated, the senses are agitated, but one takes to the service of the Lord, to his lotus feet, and he is very busy thinking always how to engage in the service of the Lord, he will have so much of different kinds of agitations. Mind will be disturbed, senses will be disturbed, mind will give ideas, let me enjoy this, let me enjoy that. But then he is very busy with service and he does not have time to dwell on that. And then he says that bhakti is such a superior process. When you are constantly engaged in the service of the Lord, then that service, it makes you forget about all the petty desires of this material world. But he says this does not so easily happens in other processes. Not with jnana, not with karma, or not with other processes. But bhakti is very special because Krishna personally helps the devotee. So Prabhupada very much emphasizes in that very long purport. It's an amazing purport. So devotees can take a look at that. It's very amazing. And specifically I want to discuss the amazing nature of Krishna. How he wants to award very nice bodies for his devotees. So that we see here. Because in this verse it's mentioned that King Punaha, what to speak of those devotees who are absorbed in his service. So we see a few examples from the Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. We see the example of Kubja. Her body was definitely not good looking, but Krishna transformed into a beautiful body. We see the example of Sanatana Goswami, who was oozing with so much of pus. When he came to Puri, he didn't want to come and touch Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so much pleased by his pure devotional service. He wanted to embrace him. In fact, he embraced him. And Sanatana Goswami felt it so bad. But then his body got transformed. And then the famous example of we have Vasudeva, who was the leper. He did not wanted to. He had a very bad body. Everywhere pus is oozing out. In fact, he used to put the worms in the body so that he wanted to remind that he was always wanted to think of the Supreme Lord. But then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced him and gave him a very beautiful body. But then it's amazing, in that pastime, he was praying to the Lord, my dear Lord, I don't want this beautiful body. I may become proud. Janmaishwarya Shruta Shribir Edamana Madhapuman. So he said that I may become very proud and I may forget to engage in your lotus feet, service of your lotus feet. But Krishna nevertheless knows what to do with whom, those who are absorbed in his service. So that was yet another example. And then also we see with another pastime of Gajendra. For Gajendra also was in the body of the king was in the body of an elephant. The Lord relieved him, and again he was restored to his actual position. The Lord gave a proper body to him, and also he relieved the crocodile. So that was another example, and there are so many examples like that in all so many various asuras. He gave them perfect body. So this is the beauty of Krishna consciousness, and we are actually in the material world, we are wasting our time and energy in beautifying the body. But if we engage in devotional service, really the spiritual body is there. We don't have to waste our time and energy in just beautifying the body so much. Of course, for that matter, it's not that we need to be dirty and we need to ignore ourselves, but no need to spend so much time decorating the material body. That's not required, because Krishna is going to offer us, those who are engaged in Krishna's service, actually they're overflowing with luster because of the purity that the devotional service creates for them. So Srila Prabhupada in the one of the descriptions in the Krishna book, specifically in the chapter of description of autumn, Prabhupada makes this point. During the rainy season, all living entities in the land, sky and water become very much refreshed, exactly like one who engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. We have practical experience of this with our students in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Before becoming students, they were dirty looking, although they had naturally beautiful personal features. Due to having no information of Krishna consciousness, they appeared very dirty and wretched. Since they have taken to Krishna consciousness, their health has improved, and by their following the rules and regulations, their bodily luster has increased. When they are dressed with saffron colored cloth, with tilaka on their foreheads and beads in their hands and on their necks, they look exactly as if they have come directly from Vaikuntha. It's a very nice point by Prabhupada. And we see often devotees are always blissful, happy, because devotees they don't have this what to say, their only goal is to please the Lord, to engage in His service. They want to do real welfare to all the living entities by glorifying the Lord and giving the Lord. And also, one more thing we can see, that it's not that, like when you start to chant Hare Krishna and suddenly we have four hands, we see visibly, but we can see the purity in the person. We can see that there is an aura that we can see that he's really, it reflects on the because of the pure consciousness. The more the consciousness is engrossed in trying to enjoy the senses and enjoy the mind, there is a dirt. The more we come out of that propensity, then we become purified. It's not the question of color. One may be black, one may be brown, one may be white. That doesn't matter. But the point is that one actually becomes pure, and the purity is reflected on the person. And naturally becomes attractive. That's why we see the more a devotee engages in devotional service, is able to give up all the bad habits. Our Hare Krishna movement is the greatest proof for that. People were addicted to drugs, they were addicted to intoxication, they were addicted to meat eating. They were able to give up all those things because of engagement in devotional service by chanting the names of the Lord. So that's one important point. And also the greatest example we can see, everybody had this experience. Specifically we can think of Srila Prabhupada, who was devotees had great experience seeing Srila Prabhupada. He was always very pure in his words, in his thoughts, in his acts, and he was always glowing with effulgence. Many disciples had this experience. When they saw Srila Prabhupada, they were completely stunned, and they used to discuss whenever Srila Prabhupada was in ecstasy. Even otherwise they said, "Oh, did you see that?" They were able to see some kind of a golden effulgence over him. That was his purity. He was emanating it. So that's what Krishna gives to his pure devotees, because they have their pure absorption. On the contrary, there is another interesting purport in the Bhagavatam, where Queen Rukmini, she points out that how we should not be carried away by the temporary material body of this material nature, how we have to deal with that. So she says how one should look at the external body. A man within this world is just a dead body. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 60, Text 45. A man within this world is just a dead body. In fact, superficially the living entity is covered by this body, which is nothing but a bag of skin decorated with beards and mustaches, hairs on the body, nails on the fingers, and hairs on the head. Within this decorated bag, there are bunches of muscles, bundles of bones, and pools of blood, always mixed with stool, urine, mucus, bile, and polluted air, and enjoyed by various kinds of insects and germs. A foolish woman accepts such a dead body as her husband, and in sheer misunderstanding loves him as a dear companion. This is only possible because such a woman has never tasted the ever blissful flavor of your lotus feet. And another amazing thing is also we can see the difference between the Lord's body and the conditioned soul's body. Our body is dead and our body stinks. The Lord's body is transcendental. He could give transcendental bliss to his devotees because he is transcendental. And one of the names in the Vishnu Sahasranama, the Lord is being called as Ruchirangada. His body is so beautiful. And also an explanation that is given is that, as we see in today's verse, that he gave Sarupya Mukti to Agasura. Similarly, he awards beautiful bodies to his devotees. Several acharyas point out that. And we can see when he is so much in great ecstasy by the pure devotion of his devotee, he embraces them. That we saw here some examples. And also he gives, as the verse also explains about how the Lord gives transcendental bliss to his devotees. Sometimes he gives the bliss in tokens. Tokens means he does not immediately give the entire bliss. So here one of the acharyas, Srila Parashara Bhatta is quoting, he's pointing out that Nammarwar, he says that he gives gradually the bliss, because he says that if he gives everything at one shot, the devotee will faint in ecstasy and he will not be able to bear it. So he says he will give in how much he can digest and experience it. So that's one point. And then he also says that the Lord, by giving his giving beautiful body to his devotee, also he gives his embrace. By embracing him, because he feels that these devotees really deserve the embrace of the Lord. So he is very affectionate to his devotee. And then another example is quoted about Lord Ram. how he was very much pleased by the service of Guha. And then he quotes, the Acharyas quote that, this is from one of the Pasurams, he says that Guhanodum ivar anum, ivar anum. He's paying the point that the Lord has, along there are four, Ram, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrughna, and he considers Guha as the fifth brother. So like that he embraces. So that's the affection that the Lord has for his devotees. And various Acharyas points out that the Lord this is one of his nature to award auspicious bodies to his devotees. So that's again amazing nature of the Lord. And yet other beautiful point that Acharyas are making here, that the Lord also very merciful. Even the material world, we see various bodies. We see the body of a bumblebee, we see the body of a spider, we see the body of various animals. According to their movements, according to their nature, the Lord has provided the body. This also is merciful nature. The jiva separated from the Lord, wanted to enjoy separately from the Lord. He has a specific desire to lord over the material nature, but the Lord has to facilitate it. And the Lord is facilitating that. So he's giving that opportunity for the jiva to enjoy separate, and he's giving various bodies. So the Acharyas are giving example of spider, bumblebee, snakes, and various bodies. So he's called like that. So this is again an amazing nature of the Lord. Yet another thing that how here in this verse it is a point is being made. However, in spite of that the special mercy of the Lord is there. Again, the stress is given that one has to one has to not downplay the point that, as Srila Prabhupada is pointing out here, Bhaktyaham ekaya grahya. So really Krishna is pleased by the pure devotion. So we should take all this special mercy of the Lord as an impetus and absorb ourselves and engage in his service. And also the Lord, on one hand, he awards beautiful body, perfect body to his devotees. On the other hand, he removes the dirty body. What's the dirty body? Our subtle body. Right? Our subtle body is now contaminated with various thoughts to enjoy this material world, enjoy the senses. So the Lord purifies that. So this is the power of pure devotional service. We may have envy, we may have greed, we may have lust. So all these things the Lord specifically purifies. So it's very important for us. We have the perfect process by chanting the holy names of the Lord, being absorbed in the devotional service of the Lord. And there are various prayers offered by various devotees in glorification of the Lord. Just I have to finish the class, we have a meeting. So just with one prayer, I'll just complete how the pure devotees are often absorbed in the service. Or not often means they're 24 hours absorbed in the service of the Lord. That's why the Lord is so pleased, and he very much gives himself to the Lord's devotees. And this is a verse from the Padyavali by the Srila Rupa Goswami. He points out that how the pure devotees are completely absorbed in the service of the Lord. He says that Dinadhau Murare Nishadhau Murare. Simple, everybody can understand this. Dinarde Murare Nisharde Murare. Dinante Murare Nishante Murare. Twameko Gatir Nastwam Eko Gatir Naha. So he says that Dinadhau Murare. So, oh Lord Murari, Adhau, in the beginning of the day, I only want to think of you. And in the middle, in the noon, like we say Trisandhyam, no? So like that, in the Prata, in the morning, in the Madhyanika, in the afternoon, middle, and then at the end, at the night, all our days and nights, morning, noon, night, throughout morning, night and day, you always remain as our eternal goal. It's a very good, like every day morning we sing, Yayanstu Vamstasya Yashastri Sandhyam Vande Guru Sri Charanaravinam. So it's a very good absorption for us. When we wake up early in the morning, what is our thought? We have to see. I'm specifically preaching for myself. The moment you wake up, we should think, what is that? We should immediately chant Krishna's name. No, we are completely in slumber. We are completely in ignorance. So this devotional service is a very powerful process. It really helps us to absorb ourselves in Krishna, and we have such a glorious process and path that is laid out by our acharyas. Specifically, Srila Prabhupada has given perfect process so that we can absorb ourselves, and we just strongly catch hold of the lotus feet of the Lord and his pure devotees, and then we will be able to make progress. and we can just take impetus from all this beautiful pastimes that the Lord is performing with in destroying, in killing various asuras, and we can get inspired. So we'll stop here, and yeah, the next verses unfold. We will see in the next classes. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.